Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Fabiane Gonçalves, and I'll be the facilitator. This webinar is hosted by Mass Energize as part of our home electrification campaign called Plug-in. So it is important for us to know where attendees are from and their level of knowledge on heat pumps. So before we begin, please take 1 minute to reply to answer these two questions you will see on your screen right now. All right. 1 minute. We have to end poll. We don't need to share results. Thanks for your responses. So tonight we'll hear from three speakers: Bob Zog from the Heat Smart Alliance, Kit Wu from the Laminar Collective, and Justin Bates representing A Bold Energy. After their presentation, we'll hear a few testimonials and then we'll open the floor for questions. I kindly ask everyone to keep yourselves muted during the presentation. With that said, I'll pass it over to Bob.
Well, thank you so much, Fabiani, and thank you all for joining us tonight. I'll give an introduction to heat pumps, and then Kit will talk a bit about first costs and quotes, and then Justin will talk a little bit about incentives. So first, to introduce you to the organization I represent, I'm with the Heat Smart Alliance, and our mission in life is to promote heat pumps in Massachusetts. We deal with applications of home heating and cooling and water heating. We're an all-volunteer organization. We have about 160 members from over 60 Massachusetts communities. And our approach is to educate, coach, and collaborate. And by coaching, I mean one-on-one assistance to homeowners who wish to put heat pumps in their homes. And we do not accept donations or referral fees from installers or manufacturers to keep our objectivity. So why should you consider heat pumps for your home? If we look at how energy is used in Massachusetts, almost 30% of our total energy use is in our homes, and that does not include our vehicles. If we break that down into home heating, home cooling, and water heating and clothes drying, that adds up to almost 80% of our energy, and those are all loads that heat pumps can serve. So it's a big deal. If you'd like to decarbonize your home, there's three basic steps. Start with weatherization. That means insulating and air sealing your home to the fullest practical extent. And virtually all of you will be eligible for a no-cost home energy assessment, and that's a great place to start. Step two is to electrify. That means converting your fossil fuel appliances and equipment over to high efficiency electric appliances and equipment, and this is where heat pumps come in. Step three is to shift to renewable energy, renewable electricity. You can put solar panels on your home, but you don't have to. You can buy 100% renewable electricity through the grid. So what is a heat pump? We all understand intuitively that heat flows naturally from warmer places to cooler places. But if we want to reverse that flow and have heat move from a cooler place to a warmer place, we need to use a mechanical device. We need to add energy, and that's what a heat pump is. It's that mechanical device. They're really nothing new. We use the same basic technology in our refrigerators, our dehumidifiers, our air conditioners. So it's really not introducing anything different. And heat pumps are available for heating, home heating, and cooling. That's one piece of equipment that provides both functions. For water heating, they're even available for clothes drying and pool heating. This simple example illustrates how a heat pump can be more than 100% efficient. In this example, we use 1 unit of electricity from the grid that pumps 2 additional units of energy from the outdoor air and puts a total of 3 units of energy into the home. And in this case, that would be 300% efficiency. And just to emphasize, a heat pump, one piece of equipment, can provide both heating and air conditioning. What are the benefits of heat pumps? Number one, substantial reductions in carbon pollution. Two, they're safer. There's no risk of carbon monoxide poisoning or explosions. They're quieter than most air conditioners. And really a neat benefit is they provide superior year-round comfort. This illustration, the orange line, shows how conventional equipment operates in an on-off cycle. It results in temperature swings. Modern heat pumps operate at variable speed. They dial right into the amount of heating and cooling you need to keep a very uniform temperature in your home. This chart illustrates the carbon pollution differences of several different types of heating systems. This is for a typical 2,000 square foot home in Massachusetts. As you can see, the ground source and the air source heat pumps do much better than the more conventional sources of heating. We'll talk more about ground source and air source in a minute. And the beauty of renewable energy is as soon as you go to renewable electricity, you reduce those emissions to virtually zero. What type of heat pump is right for your home? First, it's good to examine how you distribute heat within your home. We'll talk about 2 basic types. First, hydronic systems that circulate typically hot water, sometimes steam, throughout your home and release that heat through baseboards or radiators. The other common type is forced air, where you'll have a furnace in the basement, perhaps an air conditioner with it, that heats or cools air that goes through ductwork to your home and then circulates that air back to the furnace and air conditioner. If you have a hydronic system, the most straightforward way to apply heat pumps is to use what we call a ductless mini split, where you'll have a single outdoor unit that's connected by a couple of small copper lines to an indoor unit. So no ducting is required for this system. This indoor unit then cools or heats the air in a room or space within the home. A variation on this is a multi-zone or multi-split system where you have one outdoor unit connected to a multitude of indoor units. These can be of various configurations for either the mini split or the multi-split. They do not have to be wall hung. And you can keep your fossil fuel legacy system for backup heat. If you have forced air distribution, you might consider a central air source heat pump. You'll have an outdoor unit that probably looks a lot like a conventional air conditioner outdoor unit, except it's on some type of a pedestal that'll keep it out of the snow. In one configuration, we call this a hybrid system. You can connect it with an indoor unit that has a conventional furnace, plus a coil that's part of the heat pump system to provide the heat and the cooling to your home. An alternative to this is a system that's all electric, where the indoor unit would have the coil for the heat pump. And that could be the only source of heat, or you could also have backup electric resistance elements in that air handling unit. For the ultimate energy efficiency, you have the ground source heat pump. It's also called a geothermal heat pump. This type of heat pump extracts heat from the ground in the winter or dumps heat to the ground in the summer. It achieves the highest efficiency you can get of any home heating and cooling system. The indoor system looks quite a bit like the indoor system for an air source heat pump. For either of these technologies, the existing ducting in your home needs to be suitable or made suitable. and an installer can tell you whether that's the case. It has to be insulated, air sealed, and properly sized. But worry not, if your ducting cannot be made suitable for an air source or ground source heat pump, you're still a candidate for the ductless mini split and multi-split options we just discussed. Let's not forget about our hot water. Heat pump water heaters are also called hybrid water heaters, provide over 70% reduction in carbon pollution, over 70% or up to 70% reduction in energy costs, depending on the fuel you're using now. And they can be installed by plumbers or HVAC technicians. We show here the most common type of heat pump water heater, integrated heat pump water heaters that have the heat pump components packaged on top of a typical water tank. There's also split system models available as well. How much will it cost? Well, Kit will talk more about the upfront costs. I'll go through the energy costs a bit. We're looking here at the same 2,000 square foot home that we looked at for carbon pollution. In this case, we're looking at the typical heating costs for one winter. And again, comparing the same heating technologies. And this is for Eversource. If you have National Grid for your electricity supply, you'll have similar results. If you're with a municipal light plant community, your costs for the heat pumps will be quite a bit lower. And this does include a discount that the major electric utilities now offer for those using heat pumps. And even with an air source heat pump, it's very competitive with natural gas, and it's about equal price with natural gas, I should say, and much more less expensive than fuel oil or propane, or certainly than baseboard electric. But one important caveat here is this is a snapshot in time. Over the life of your heat pump, these costs will vary, and these bars may be in a different order in future years. If you're doing a financial analysis, be sure to look at the cost difference between a heat pump and your conventional equipment. And be sure to include both the heating and the cooling equipment. And the reason you want to do this is because you're going to have to replace your heating and cooling equipment anyway. So that's really, the difference is really the relevant metric. Make sure you include the value of incentives that are available, and Justin will talk more about this. And you may want to consider assigning a price to carbon pollution, or you may want to consider improving the resale value of your home. And as we've talked about, you might put a value on the comfort improvements you'll see. And as I just said, we have to accept the uncertainties about future energy costs. So your action plan, a good time to convert to heat pumps is when your current heating and cooling equipment is over 15 years old. It's getting near the end of its useful life. For a water heater, it's a bit less, maybe 7 to 10 years. My most important message tonight is this: plan ahead. If you wait for your current equipment to fail, you'll be in an emergency replacement situation. It's likely you will not have time to evaluate heat pumps, and you may be pressured into installing conventional equipment again and locking yourself into fossil fuels for 15 plus additional years. So this is really key. Another great time is if you don't have central air conditioning and would like to add it. And third, if you're planning an addition, a major renovation, or a new home, this is a perfect time to use heat pumps. To get started, you can go to our website and you'll get a copy of this deck with the links in here. And we provide additional information. There's many other sources as well. Procure 100% renewable electricity, as we talked about, and get a no-cost MassSave home energy assessment through MassSave. Again, if you're not eligible for that, talk to your local municipal light plan and see what they can offer. And consider getting coaching. And you have a couple of options. If you're eligible for MassSave, you can get a decarbonization consultation. In turn, that can lead to a quote comparison, which can be really helpful. We do, through the Heat Smart Alliance, offer coaching in a limited number of communities, and we also include links to other local coaching programs that we know about. And when you're ready to get quotes, we suggest getting at least 3 quotes. Each installer you talk to will give you different information and see things in a different way, and you'll get ideas that may be important for you to consider. And when you're ready to make a decision, please consider all factors here, not just the first cost of the equipment. So that is my message for tonight, and I'll turn it over to Kit.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Kit, calling from Cambridge, Massachusetts. I just got home, actually. I'm going to share my screen. Is that okay?
Yes, it is.
All right. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and do it. My presentation is 3 slides. It's going to be super, super fast. I just wanted to quickly talk about not necessarily just the specific pricing, because that's what we'll tease out in the Q&A, but how to think about pricing from a heat pump standpoint. So this is us, and let me just go ahead and quickly share the slideshow version. Fabiani, can you confirm that you see the big slideshow?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, and I'm seeing a couple of thumbs up over here as well. All right, this is us. I'm Kit. I run Laminar Collective. We install heat pumps and publish research about it. We are a research newsletter, an organization based over in Cambridge and Somerville. Our office is over at Greentown Labs, aka the co-working space next to the infamously busy Somerville Market Basket. That's right, we contribute to the problem now. We go there for lunch almost every single day. Anyhow, I have 3 slides for you, and that's it. 3 super quick things. And I just want to go ahead and say Bob made a great point about how you should probably get multiple quotes, preferably before your system breaks, because as I'm about to tell you, the prices fluctuate all the time. So heat pumps are quite seasonal in terms of the pricing. And a part of that is intuitive. If you're a heat pump contractor, you're probably climbing into hot attics if it's during the summer. I don't want to be in a hot attic. I don't think you want to be in a hot attic. If I had to be in a hot attic, I too would charge higher prices. So since a lot of this is sort of exterior work, you can also think about this in terms of how easy is it to do installations on the outside, right? Um, Fall is a perfect time because the weather is nice. Spring is a perfect time because the weather is nice as well. Back when I first made the slide, I said that winter is a great time to do an installation. But this particular winter is an exception to that. 2 winters ago, when it was super mild outside, fantastic time to do an installation. This particular winter, absolutely not. I am in Cambridge right now. That particular road out there, people were fighting over those parking spots. So again, just to make the point that heat pump is very much seasonal, heat pump installations are very much seasonal. The best time to typically get a heat pump pricing wise is probably around late spring, right about now, before the summer. So what's an easy way to think about how varied the costs are? I would think about it like airplane tickets, right? So this is a list of flights going from Boston to San Francisco for a single specific day. And you can see that between the highest and lowest prices, the highest price is nearly double that of the lowest price right here. And this is what you'll see as well inside the heat pump market. Sometimes you're going to have contractors who are just super available. Hey, maybe your neighbor is a contractor and they have 30 years of experience and they are willing to give you a fantastic price because they live next to you and they can roll out of bed and they can just do your installation tomorrow. Alternatively, maybe somebody has to drive 2 hours to get to your house. So there's a lot of varying factors that can influence the price, but this is why Bob is right when he says you should get multiple quotes. The last thing I'll go ahead and say is just to get a sense of the numbers in your mind. This is how much we charge during our research installations. And I'm telling you these numbers just so that you actually have a number. As you might notice, for example, a smaller installation. So for example, if you're only covering 2 rooms inside your house, is less expensive than a very big installation. For example, if you're covering 7 rooms inside your house. Of course, the more rooms that you're covering, the more materials you'll need and more expensive that will be. Ultimately, the final price will depend on how your house, functions right now. Do you have existing ductwork? Do you not have existing ductwork? how big is your house and how sort of like in what city do you live in, right? Are we talking about a installation in Somerville in which I'm going to get a, parking ticket every 2 hours? Or am I talking about an installation over in the Metro West where there's a lot more parking space, right? Things like that. So I just wanted to give you these numbers to give you a general sense of a snapshot of what you can expect. It is in the tens of thousands, and the bigger your house, the more expensive the ultimate system will be. All right, that's it. Actually, that was longer than I expected. So off to you. I think Justin's going next, right?
Yes, thank you, Kit. Justin, on to you.
Thanks, Kit. And if we could walk out of here with anything, I think it's get multiple quotes. Get as many quotes as you feel comfortable, kind of looking at the varied pricing landscapes that Kit and Bob have now talked to. So I'm here, Justin Bates. I work for Abode Energy Management. We work with the sponsors of Mass Save to implement the Mass Save heating and cooling program. So both the 1,900 contractors on the heat pump installer network who can install heat pumps, and customers can gain access to Mass Save rebates, as we'll talk about. About also works in the municipal light plant space, which we'll kind of talk to a little bit. But I'm here to say, if you just got sticker shock from Kit's slide right there, if you've gotten heat pump quotes yourself and your eyes kind of glazed over when you start to see the two at the start of that five-digit number or three at the start of that five-digit number, there are cost-saving opportunities out there. So we could go through a million different slides that talk about mass save rebates and municipal light plant rebates and incentives through this program or that program. But what I hope folks take away is that if you do your research and if you get creative, there are ways to bring that high cost of heat pumps down. Two of the biggest ways to do it. The first one, that mass save rebate, it has a few different tiers depending on how you want to install heat pumps in your home, whether you're going for full displacement or partial displacement, meaning you're keeping a supplementary system, whether it's a furnace or a boiler for the coldest days of winter. We have the Mass Save 0% heat loan, which is a 0% loan up to $25,000 over 7 years that really makes that upfront cost of heat pumps much more manageable and much more cost competitive when we start to compare the cost over time to maybe just going a one-for-one furnace replacement or a boiler replacement. I would encourage you, if you do live in a municipal light plant community, to contact your MLP. Your MLP probably has a rebate, and your MLP, Reading Municipal Light Department, for an example, has a loan offering, right? There are different ways to save money on heat pumps if you do your homework and if you get kind of creative in where you're looking for these different financing or cost saving opportunities. A few different kind of programs I'll also point out, and baked into the Mass Save and MLP rebates are income-based offerings. If you fall below 60% area median income, if you fall in that 60 to 80% area median income, you are going to get enhanced incentives and rebates up to a no-cost heat pump. Um, if you are looking at the cost of a heat pump, and maybe you're also encouraged to install solar or want to kind of prune the bushes next to your house where you're going to put that outdoor heat pump condenser and you want to finance that, there's a program out there called Energy Saver Home Loan Program, right? That is a very low to low interest rate up to $100,000 that is both for heat pumps or heat pump enabling measures. Um, the New England Heat Pump Accelerator is a recent federal initiative that knocks about $650 off the cost of each condenser that you throw into your house. If you're looking at operational savings, Massachusetts last winter announced the seasonal heat pump rate, which varies based on your electric utility, but generally saves you 6 to 7 cents a kilowatt. Um, all this is to say, again, there are many cost saving opportunities out there, not only for heat pumps, but kind of touching on that second technology that Bob had referenced, heat pump water heaters, right? Heat pump water heaters have different rebates depending on whether you go on a split or a package system. You can also finance a heat pump water heater through that 0% heat loan. There's incentives through the accelerator program. There's the loan through the Energy Saver Home Loan Program. All this to say, again, there is money out there. Make sure when you are pursuing these electric technologies that you are really doing your due diligence to make sure that you are capturing as much money as possible. And I'm going to throw in the chat right there one of the services that is no cost offering to you, which is a decarbonization consultation offered by the sponsors of Mass Save. Whether it's this, whether it is a coaching session with one of the Heat Smart Alliance coaches, if you don't feel confident, or if you even want to kind of tap into an expert who does this day in and day out, please schedule some time, reach out to the Heat Smart Alliance folks, and we are here to guide you through. Again, like I could tap through some of my slideshows right here and go a little bit deeper into some of the bonuses and income eligible offers and water heaters. If you want that support in navigating all this, if you want a gut check of what your kind of installer is quoting you, please feel free to schedule a decarb consultation, get in touch with the Heat Smart Alliance, and happy, I think, to answer some questions if y'all have it. Appreciate it all.
Thanks, Bob, Kit, and Justin for sharing your knowledge. Now we would like to hear some real stories. I'll invite three people to share their stories, their experience with heat pumps. First, I will call Brian White. I think Brian's no longer with us. So is Tom Siaka with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Um, I'm Tom Siaka from Wayland. Um, I'm going to describe I think, more optimistic experience than you've heard from some previous speakers. But here's the facts. In May of 2022, I spent $3,865 to have a small mini split installed in my living room to work in conjunction with the forced air gas furnace that had been heating my house for over 40 years. That the first summer, it acted as central air, basically, in place of the window air conditioners that I had been increasingly using over the years as the summers got warmer. Much more comfortable than the window air conditioners, and saved $100 or $200 probably on operating cost. Following winter, turned out the little mini split handled 85% of my overall heat need, which I was very pleasantly surprised at, but that's the way the numbers worked out. It reduced my overall energy costs by about a third. So I had immediate substantial savings versus the gas furnace. Next summer, again, wonderful air conditioning. Following winter, matched the first winter exactly, 85% of the heat need, and at a cost savings of about a third. Third winter, it was a little colder. It only handled about 83% of my heat need. Again, a cost savings of roughly a third. And the fourth winter is this past winter. And I don't have the final numbers yet because the heating season isn't over. But it's looking like it was obviously a colder winter than we've had recently, although a completely normal winter for those of us who remember 30 or 40 years ago. And it probably handled 78 to 80% of my overall heat need this past winter. But the cost was reduced by about a factor of two. In other words, I have now paid about half this past winter what I would have paid with my gas furnace as my sole heat source. Reason is we now have the heat pump rate, which made a substantial difference. I'll also mention the comfort level in the winter now is substantially higher for the reason that Bob explained. The heat pump has proportional control. It throttles up and down to match the heat need rather than flipping on and off the way the furnace does. And it's turned into not only a comfort win, a carbon win, but the best investment that I've ever made. So I'll leave it at that at the moment and answer details about why some of this happened when people ask me.
Thanks, Tom. Now I would like to call Ken Rideout.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm Ken Ryan. I live in Wayland also. And we went over to geothermal. So we did the big sort of the big job. So I started that process in 2023, I guess, went through the Mass Saves program and had some insulation blown in this in the attic, this 1950s house, right? And we had oil furnace and forced hot air, which is good. So the ductwork was already in. And it probably took a year to actually start digging. It wasn't until summer of 2024, I guess, that the guys actually came out with a rig and punched the holes in the ground. And that work was completed in the fall of 2024. And they ripped out the oil furnace and ripped out the air conditioner. And one of the things I was nervous about was how often it would call for electrical heat backup, that if the geothermal couldn't keep up. But it's 2 winters now, and of course, this last winter was pretty brutal, and it's never called for electric heat. So even though I've got this leaky 1950s house, it does keep up. We just leave the thermostat at 70 pretty much all year. The upfront cost is substantial, though. I mean, it's a big investment, but all those incentives that were on the previous speakers list, I checked every single box. I had a lot of online research, and then I checked in with, I was using a coach here in town, Ann Harris helped me out a little bit, and mostly like a voice to sort of bounce off, like, do I understand this right, and all those kind of things. So got the, 7-year loan, got the tax rebate, got the off the top rebate, and now it's 2 winters now where I haven't had to buy oil. So by my calculations, it'll be a while before it pays itself off in a certain like simple financial calculation. But wow, it's really great not to have oil in my house and in my basement, and that whole delivery process, everything, and that keep leaving the thermostat at 70 year round is a pretty nice perk. So I won't say too much more because I don't know how many people are actually interested in geothermal, but that's kind of like my brief intro there.
Thanks, Ken. That's great to hear some like good things about heat pumps. The floor is now open for questions. Please raise your hand and unmute yourself when called, or submit your question in the chat. There is a question already for Tom. Is the heat pump heating your house or just the living room? Tom.
Yeah, excellent question. One of the reasons why this works in my house is it's a raised ranch, And that's a fairly common configuration. And with the heat pump located in the living room and aimed down the central hallway, which is how a raised ranch is laid out, it heats the whole house. Now, it's helpful that we're empty nesters and we leave the bedroom doors open all the time. So that's why we get plenty of air circulation down the whole hallway. And again, it handles the whole house.
Thanks, Tom. Anyone else? Yes, Bob. Bob, do you want to say something?
No, that question I think was for Tom, and I think that yeah, that's a good.
The other question is, how do you know if you are a candidate for geothermal?
Well, I can take a crack at that, and Justin and Kit can weigh in. Two major things. One, as Ken just told us, if you have existing ductwork serving your home, it's a lot easier to do a geothermal heat pump. Two, you do need some minimum amount of real estate available outside of your home, enough to get a drilling rig in on your property. I've been told that typically you need to have a space that's maybe 20 feet wide by 100 feet. But it can be right in your driveway. There's no reason that you can't put these boreholes right in your driveway. So those are the two main things.
I'll add that I would not get geothermal if you're in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Any other question? You can unmute yourself or drop it in the chat. Okay. I think that question is for you, Rob.
Yeah, I'm just reading it here. I have an oil boiler with a steam heat. Okay, that's probably an older system, and a water loop for an indirect super storage water tank. So they have their domestic water is heated off of the boiler. Is there an option for using the water loop to supply the hot water for a hydronic system instead of getting a new gas furnace? I assume it means a new gas boiler. Using the water loop. So I may not understand this completely, but the way I'll translate the question, can you use your existing distribution system, the hydronic distribution system, with a heat pump? And a steam system, it's probably going to be tough to do. If you had a hydronic hot water system, then it is possible to do. There is a air to water heat pump. There are some caveats. It's not there are not a lot of installers in the U.S. And it's also tricky to provide to provide air conditioning with that type of heat pump. And there can be some other limitations, but it is possible. If that's not the question, if Frank could clarify, that would be great.
Kit, question for you. Where and how should I start looking for installers, both air source and geothermal?
All right, fantastic question. Here's the answer. You should go to this particular link right over here. This is the Massive heat pump contractor list. Go to that particular link. There's a search function over there. And now, for the first time, you can actually click on this little button right over here that would allow you to filter down to the heat pump leaders network, which Justin can tell you all about. Long story short, it's a subset of the Massive contractors network that has gone through a vetting process, I believe designed by Justin himself. So I would enter your information over here, click that Heat Pump Leaders Network button, and go search. Justin, anything to add?
Just make sure you talk to at least three contractors. And I think the best way that you can get a contractor that you're going to trust is going to somebody that you trust who has installed a heat pump and asking them, who did you use? The best referrals are usually friends, families. So really tap into your kind of referral network, which is your existing friends, family base. But yeah, definitely check out our Heat Pump Leaders Network contractors. Kit summed it up well, but there's a HPLN contractor guide at the bottom of that Find a Contractor tool where you can learn a little bit more about the rules, the guidelines, the install quality protocols that contractors are signing up to as an HPLN contractor.
I would
Whichever
also,
oh yeah, go for it.
oh no, I was just gonna go ahead and add, you're gonna see a lot of HVAC billboards in the next couple of months. This is around the season when HVAC companies start buying billboards. The companies that buy the billboards probably are going to be on the expensive end because they're spending a ton of money on billboards. It might not surprise you. So it's worth the effort to go search that Heat Pump Leaders Network and get a couple of quotes.
Thank you. Ellen, you have your hand
Yeah,
raised.
I want to respond to Tom. Hey, Tom. I would just highly recommend a coach. You're in Sudbury. You can go to the Heat Smart Alliance, get a coach. I can't remember, Bob, if we have coaches in Sudbury. We certainly have coaches in Wayland, and we work with Tom a lot in plugin, we could probably offer to help Tom a little, give him some advice on installers in our neck of the woods. But I think, Tom, once you even get the quotes from installers, that comparison moment, even the quote comparison tool from Abode is fantastic. And it's really good to have a coach help you kind of, because sometimes you feel like you're comparing apples to broccoli. They're all using different, manufacturer software. They don't make it easy to compare. And you learn something from all the installers. They're going to propose slightly different configurations. There's good learning in that. So Tom, we can help you out, and I'd highly recommend coaching.
Thanks, Ellen, for your contribution. Bob, Liana is asking, how would you know what size system you need if you already have ducts?
Well, the best way is to ask the installers when they come visit to give you a quote. It's An installer needs to go through they should go through a sizing process. Well, first they need to figure out what the heat load is for your home through a process called the manual J, and then they need to pick the equipment that's suitable based on that calculation. To be honest, not all installers do that fully and properly, but that's really what you want. It also depends on your goals as a homeowner, whether you want to heat solely with a heat pump or whether you want it to supplement an existing heating system.
Right. I don't know if how can we estimate savings or additional monthly costs based on our specific usage history?
Well, that's actually a really good question. There's a couple of ways. I like the calculators that Efficiency Maine makes available. The Mass Save sponsors do have calculators as well. But if you go to the Efficiency Maine website, you can find a calculator where if you put in your historical fuel use, it will give you an estimate of your design heating load, and that's certainly a starting point. So, and it also I think it actually gives you not just that, but it gives you some cost comparisons, conventional fuels versus heat pumps based on that data you put in about your historical fuel use. So that's a good way to do it. We at the Heat Smart Alliance, our coaches have a tool available as well. In fact, anyone can get this tool by going to our website, and all you have to do is put in a request to get a tool, and it'll be emailed to you. It's a simple spreadsheet, and it has instructions and all, and you can put in your own fuel use and make an estimate of your home heating load.
Bob, let me add to that estimating that is the kind of an issue that a coach can help people with,
Yeah.
because you have to include factors like what the efficiency of your existing system is, which, well, if you're knowledgeable about that, fine, you can do that. But coaches should be able to help you with that sort of thing.
And thanks to everyone for putting in the relevant links here while I'm talking.
All right, this is another question from Jean. Assuming a heat pump and furnace, is it difficult to control the source and temperature settings from a single thermostat?
Actually, in that situation, it seems to be relatively straightforward, and as far as I know, generally problem-free. When you have the situation of a ductless system and a existing boiler, it's a little trickier, and I think the technology is still improving. Maybe others can speak to that, but certainly with a furnace and ductwork, it seems to be working pretty well as far as I can tell.
I can add to from my personal experience. My mini split is entirely independent of my gas furnace, but each of them operates on its own thermostat, and I just have the furnace thermostat set a couple of degrees lower than the heat pump thermostat, and so the furnace comes on when the heat pump can't keep up, and it all works out fine.
All right. We still have time for questions, but before people start leaving, we need to assess like how much you learned today. So please take 2 more minutes and answer these questions you'll see on your screen right now. Let me go back here. Go back and share. We are almost there, and then we can go back to the Q&A. All right. It's good to see that 8 people is ready to take action and install heat pumps. All right, let's go back to our questions. Any other question? Please unmute yourself, ask your question. Yes, Emory.
Hi, thank you. This was a further question for Tom, as I have a split level ranch. Is your living room mini on an exterior wall?
Yeah, the one of the reasons why it was as economical as it was, again, a lot cheaper than the prices you heard from Kit, for example, is that it was a very elementary installation. The living room wall is, it's out. Yeah, yes, it has an outside wall. The head was mounted on that wall, and again in line with the central hallway of the house. The condenser was right on the other side of the wall, so yeah, very easy installation.
Okay, and just to follow on to that, how do you control the temperature or the climate on the lower level of the house?
Oh, well, we don't actually heat that anymore. Again, we're empty nesters, and when the kids were home, that it's a family room, and that's where we hung out. But now we only use it around Christmas time for the family gatherings. So I laid out the facts, but that's one of the reasons why I get the kind of spectacular financial results I do. But I have a neighbor who really liked my fundamental installation. Also has a raised ranch, this same layout. He put in the mini split like mine in that position, but also put in a multi split. In other words, one condenser, three in his case, heads within the house to handle the bedrooms and the lower level. Now, he doesn't actually use those because he doesn't need to, because he's an empty nester as well, but he could. And number one, it qualified him for the $10,000 whole house rebate. So it was almost free in terms of installation cost. And uh, if he wants to heat, he can.
Thank you.
Um,
That's really helpful.
I should mention that the prices that you were seeing, the ones that I laid out as a baseline price, these are peak summer prices. This is the HVAC equivalent of trying to book in a plane flight maybe a week before Christmas. So I'm just giving you these data points out now so you guys have an expectation of how the summer market looks like, and also just as an FYI that if you get a heat pump installed off season, particularly a simple installation like the one that Tom has, you will be paying a lot less.
Yeah, and I ought to emphasize that mine was in May of 2022, which is the sweet spot for installers. A number of factors were involved in my having as economical an installation as I have. Another is I went online and I got quotes from I don't remember if it was Angie's List, but that kind of a service. And I interviewed a number of individual installers, basically. I have a friend who runs an HVAC company, and he says he has overhead. There is no way he could possibly match a price like that. I ought to also mention it was 4 years ago now, 4 years of inflation from them then to now. So I throw out the facts, but there's a number of factors that make it atypical. Still, you can get, I think, very a much more economical installation than the numbers that Kit threw out, and get some excellent results.
Any other question, comments? All right, one more chance. Questions, comments, everyone? Okay, I just want to say thank you to Bob, Kit, Justin, Tom, Ken, everyone that shared something, asked a question. Thank you so much. I'll be sharing with you recording, the deck, and everything else. If you need questions, if you need to know the link to contact a heat pump coach, you can email me, and I will just put my email in the chat.
And
Thank you so
thank you
much.
everyone for joining us tonight.